Hi, I'm Sherri Lewis, and this is my series From the Heart. In this series, it's my desire to be vulnerable and authentic and share some of my weak spots, hoping that in my weakness you can be made strong, just learning from my lessons that I've learned. What I want to talk about today is learning how to manage emotions. So if you've watched any of my video series, if you know me as a person, you know that I can be pretty emotional. They call me the drama queen. I can be very animated. I can be very all over the place. I live by emojis. Like, I am the emoji queen. It's very difficult for me to have any conversation on social media without emojis. And sometimes I even put emoji faces in when I'm talking to people. I've perfected a few of them. The blank, I won't do them now. I'm not going to do them now. But I can be a very emotional person. I'm very passionate. I do have anger issues. It seems funny because I'm such a mama. I'm such a loving person. I'm such a sweet person. I love loving people. But do not cross me. Do not go on the wrong side of my love, because unfortunately, as much as I can be loving, I can get angry. And fortunately, I've learned how to control the anger pretty well. People that usually get the brunt of it are those that are closest to me, because I'm venting about something that happened. And then I vent to the Holy Spirit. I get the thing under control. And then I go and do healthy confrontation and talk to the person. So I say all that to say I can be pretty all over the place when it comes to emotions. And a long time ago, I had to learn how to control it. I had to learn how to manage it, because otherwise I would be unstable. I really, really would. And I've learned to do that in intimacy and in relationship with the Holy Spirit. There are times when I'm angry, where after I get through, like especially driving in the car, I have the worst road rage. People drive with me and they're like, you know that person can't hear you that you yelling at in the other car with the windows rolled up. Okay, just checking. And there are times that I could be in the car by myself and I yell at somebody and I will speed up and cut them off. I mean, it's bad. It's not just yelling. It is aggressive. Let me get you back on the road. If I had a big truck, people would be in trouble. Thank God I have a little green car. But there was one day that I was just being angry like that. And the Holy Spirit was like, Sherri, what's wrong with you? And that's been more than once, I have to admit, where he just kind of pulls me up and he's like, you need to get it together. You are angry for no reason. You're upset. What's really bothering you right now? And I've had to learn how to manage my emotions in intimacy with him, in relationship with him, where we just talk about what's happening. I used to think that however you wake up, that's your emotion for the day. If you wake up sad, then you're going to have a sad day. If you wake up happy, you're going to have a happy day. And I've learned that that's not the case, that we get to decide what our emotions are. You know, I get to choose to rejoice and be glad. I get to choose what I'm going to do with my feelings. So if I wake up and I feel like I'm in a bad mood, if I'm sad, if I'm angry, I'll go through the Psalms. I'll speak in tongues for a while. I'll sit in his presence. I'll put on some worship music. If it lasts longer than that, then I've got to, do some other things. Maybe go to a coffee shop or make myself a good cup of gourmet tea. If it's really bad, like a season, then somebody has to take me to the beach. Like, for real, we have to get to the nearest beach. Hasn't been that bad in a very long time. But I've learned that I just need to change my perspective, change my way of thinking. Practicing gratitude is a huge way of managing your emotions. No matter what's going on, if you sit and say 10 things that you're thankful for, you can't stay sad, you can't stay depressed, you can't stay mad. All of a sudden, something about testimonies and gratitude just changes your whole attitude, your whole feeling. I think sometimes I might swing too far to the other side. One of my favorite India RE songs is Come Back to the Middle, where you might start off too far to the left and then you swing too far to the right. And it's something that we do in Christianity, where we feel like emotions are not godly. It's not godly to be emotional. Just be spiritual and control your emotions. And what we end up doing is squashing our emotions. And it's not healthy at all. It's not the least bit healthy. I mean, Jesus himself wept. Jesus knew he was about to resurrect Lazarus from the dead, and he still cried. Jesus had emotions. God would do things in anger. I mean, Jesus threw the money changers out of the temple with a whip. He would go off on the Pharisees and the Sadducees all the time. He was not an unemotional being. And so the goal is not for us to squash our emotions. I've done so many sozos where I'm the sozoer, not the sozoee, where a young lady will be telling her life story in the sozo. It's an inner healing session. A sozo is an inner healing session. And she'll be telling her whole life story about how she was molested and raped and poor and broke and just atrocities, and she'll just be sitting there talking with a completely straight face because either her emotions have died or she's been taught that as a Christian, you can't be emotional. And so, it's one thing to be overly emotional and yelling at cars and crying and just waking up and having a bad day, but the other end of the pendulum is not allowing yourself to feel emotions that are really real. I'm thinking of two instances that kind of make this point. I worked at a women's prison for 5 years, and that was the last job before I left to move to Africa. And after I quit, I was sitting and talking to my best friend, Yvette, and I was telling her some of the stories, just with a straight face, like blah, 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 blah. And she was like, "Are you serious? I had no idea that you were going through all of that. I had no idea it was that hard. What did you do with all those emotions?" And I remember looking down like, yeah, that's that extra 10 pounds around my belly right now. I had not allowed myself to feel the difficulty of what I was experiencing every single day. Recently, I got a prophetic word from one of my daughters, Bethel, in Cameroon. And she said a lot of things in the prophetic word. And it was beautiful. It made me cry. And it made me think of a lot of things that I'd been going through lately, just frustrations, difficulties, unanswered prayer. And at the end, she said, as God, she said, "I give you permission to feel whatever you need to feel." And I've played that over and over. I give you permission to feel whatever you need to feel, because when I'm hurting, sometimes I do make myself very busy. I can be a workaholic. I can be a terrible workaholic. And when I'm stressed or emotional and I won't deal with it, I do eat too much. And so I just thought it was sweet of God through that prophetic word to give me permission to feel. And I'm learning something. I read a book by one of my new favorite authors. Her name is Jen Stockman. She's a fellow leader at Bethel Atlanta. And her book is The War on Your Voice. Amazing book. I had the privilege of editing it. It was very difficult to edit because I just kept getting caught up in the book, and I kept having God encounters while reading the book. And one of the things that she said in the book was, invite God into your difficult places. If you have a place of shame, of guilt, of fear, invite God into that place. And she actually described inviting Jesus to just come sit with her in the middle of shame, in the middle of loneliness. And that has changed a lot for me. And now I'm learning to do that with difficult spaces. I just invite, Holy Spirit, come sit with me, come talk to me. I already had intimacy, but I think whenever something was wrong, I can tell when something is wrong on the inside of me, because that's when I'm not spending intimate time with God. That's when I just get out of bed in the morning and just start my day. And usually after 2 days of that, I'm not myself. I'm not happy. I'm not bubbly. I'm not me. I'm not Sherri. And I stop and I say, okay, I'm running from you. What's wrong? And so now after reading that book, I'm learning, instead of running, let's just invite God into it. Let's sit in the bed. Let's grab a cup of tea for me and God to share. And he doesn't really drink much, but let's grab a cup of tea and let's just sit here and talk this out. God, I invite you into this pain. I invite you into this frustration. I invite you into this difficulty. And we just sit and we talk through it, and it always makes it better. It makes all those days where I ran away from him and all those days where I completely walked away from intimacy and pain, it makes all those days so silly. Because I'm not myself without him. I'm not myself when I'm not in his lap and talking to him every single day. And so now I've learned that even when things are difficult, even when I'm in pain or frustrated or afraid, I just invite him into the middle of it. And I've actually grown in intimacy since I started doing that. Thanks, Jen. I've actually grown in intimacy since I started doing that, just inviting God into the deeper places of my heart, into the secret places of my heart. And he's so sweet, and he's so good, and he always helps. And I'm really learning how to do a much better job of managing my emotions. It's very, very healing. So just wanted to share that with you today. If you have problems with your emotions, just learn how to manage them in intimacy with God. Learn how to manage them in relationship with God. We have a course on this channel about the prophetic and learning how to hear his voice, and we'll have a course on intimacy. And so I hope that these are tools that will teach you how to have an intimate relationship with God so that you can manage your emotions. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe to my channel and follow me on Facebook and Instagram as Sherri Lewis. If you'd like to read any of my books, they're on Amazon and barnesandnoble.com, and the link for my books is in the description for this video. God bless.